62. Our town folks, their friends and relatives, had just concluded their applause of appreciation for the inspiring strands rendered them by the Glen Rock, Pennsylvania carol singers. Words of welcome and enlightenment were also graciously received. They likewise responded well in the spirit of gift-giving. Thus, the annual pilgrimage to the old hometown to hear the carol singers was in full bloom. The concert here in the community building ended a few minutes before midnight. In the midst of flashbulb popping and playback of recordings, you observed those small groups gathering for reminiscing, extending season's greetings, and the question, what do you do? They boastfully say, perhaps the most distinctive single feature of life in Glen Rock is the custom began in 1848 of singing carols on the streets of the town between midnight and morning on Christmas Day. This custom was established by the Englishmen who arrived in Glen Rock in that year from Yorkshire, an area noted for its singing. They were familiar with the ancient practice of carolers going from door to door on Christmas Eve. Now far from home and possible sick at heart, Mark Radcliffe, George Shaw, Charles Heathcote joined with Mark and James Heathcote to sing for the 7 families who then composed a population of Glen Rock. Their songs were those which they had sung in England, some of which had passed from one generation to another without being written down. There is good reason to believe that this custom, begun in 1848, has never been broken. In fair weather or foul, the carolers have carried on. The carolers are called together several weeks before Christmas to rehearse their songs and elect officers to serve the organization for another year. Now they leave the community building, dressed in cape and top hat and carrying a white cane. They form in a circle for their out-of-doors concert, and at midnight begin with the Christmas hymn. They begin their rounds going from street to street, accepting invitations periodically for food, warmth, and rest. At dawn, the doxology, their last song, is rendered. They wish one another a Merry Christmas and go their respective ways. The present group is composed of sopranos, Louis Bond, Clifton Bamford, Emerson Hoover, James Hoover, Baird Cap, Kenneth Keller, Alvin Krebs Jr., Leroy Krebs, Charles Miller, Emery Pattison, Harold Rawbaugh, Millard Sloniker, Jesse Shule, Robert Kroh, Dennis Good. The bass section is composed of Charles Decker, William Erman, John Houston, James Kroh, Mark Kroh, Perry Kroh, Colin Newhouse, Stuart Schreiber, Paul Shepard Jr., Roger Smith, Woodrow Tolman, and Joseph Beerley. Those comprising the tenor section, David Garber, Burnell Bortner, Charles Erman, Furman Grove, Sherman Krebs, Donald Sloniker, Richard Siegman, and James McCullough. Those playing the instruments, Carol Gantz and Rodney Panion, trombone, Bartow Schweitzer, Thomas Kapp, cornet, Henry Kapp, director. Those in the associate list are composed of Dennis Wirtz, Kenneth Kroh, John McCullough, Larry Flemings, Edward Kick, Norman Daniels, John Houston Jr., and Carl Hirschner.